Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Deborah. I'm in my kitchen. Well, it's my everything. So let's just be real. I'll give you a little tour. This is kind of like my desk. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Now you really know who I am. But I can find everything, just so you know. All right, so this is my kitchen. Yep, and there's my dining room table, but that has also been my desk, and it's not due to COVID. I work at home. I've had an online business since 2013. That's what I do. I have an office right down the hall. But this room, super high ceilings, super bright light, that's where I work the best. But let me talk to you about what I'm doing. This is really all about your exercise type and timing in the morning, when you're going to work out, and what you need to do before it. So I'm talking about exercise nutrition. I'm talking all month about how you avoid the loss of lean muscle tissue that will otherwise happen with aging. Now, I'm not saying it has to. I'm absolutely saying it doesn't have to, but you do have to do certain things, and it's not just moving more. Those 10,000 steps, and if you actually try to get more than 10,000 steps, you may be doing more harm than good in losing major muscle. So you need to do resistance training, and I'm going to harp on that all month long, so just bear with me. But I want to talk today about what I have before I do resistance training, and or before I will go for a long walk or a hike, depending on what time it is. So I'm in Scottsdale, so I've got to beat the sun and triple digits. And as we go into fall, that will be easier, but I've got to choose my exercise wisely. So what do I have in the morning? Right now, here's what I'm drinking. This is a protein shake. So this is my vanilla paleo power. So that's an animal-based protein with no dairy and no soy, no eggs, no dairy means no whey. This is not whey protein. I used to carry it. I don't anymore because of the increase in inflammation. 90 or over 90% of my tribe and my audience don't do well with dairy, including whey protein, even though it's rapidly absorbed and it's the most easiest, probably most likely one for you to find on the shelves at your grocery store. But you've got to look a little harder than that. But I do best with an animal protein, and I love plant as well, but I rotate these. So what I've got in here is just pure filtered water. I could have put something like unsweetened almond milk had I wanted it, but I've got pure filtered water. I've got my paleo vanilla protein, and I've got a little bit of sun butter. So an alternative to peanuts, because that's a high food sensitivity for a lot of people. So I'll do sun butter or almond butter. So I'm mixing up. So what I've got is protein and fat, minimal carbohydrates coming from just insulate or just incidental occurring carbohydrates, but neither one of those, protein powder or the nut butter, have a lot of carbohydrate. So what you need to know is, well, I don't know if I want to do that or not. It's not a choice. So this is a recommendation. So if you're about to do either a high intensity exercise training versus a lower intensity exercise training, or one that's lower on shaking your gut up, and you're doing more strength training, you need to change the fuel that you have if you hope to optimize your body's ability to burn more fat for fuel. But I also want to go back and say this. So many of you are asking, should I fast? I should be doing intermittent fasting at least overnight. And yes, you should. At least a 12-hour fast and between meals during the day. But should you exercise then fasted before you have breakfast? Here's my take. For women in midlife, usually no. Because if you're exercising with adequate intensity, meaning either you're doing interval training and you're truly getting breathless, you are truly sprinting. Think about sprinting to the finish line in the Olympics. You are not going to stop and look at your heart rate monitor and say, I'm exercising too much. No, you're just going to go. That is getting breathless. That's doing a high intensity interval training. And or if you're doing strength training, intensity comes from reaching temporary muscular fatigue, that momentary, I'm at the last repetition, I can do really well, or I feel myself starting to cheat, or I have to use momentum and swing, or it's just, I can't pull that up anymore. That's temporary fatigue. That means you've reached overload. If you never reach that, you're not doing enough. to positively influence your hormonal response so that you can increase your lean and decrease your body fat by overall long-term increasing your metabolism. That's what you're after, girlfriend. Okay, so I know you want to go sleeveless, and you may think and you're hearing somebody tell you, use those small weights and do arm circles. Hooey, that is hooey. There's no research to prove that is true. And what you're doing is wasting time that you could be building not only sexy now, but a future later that you can sustain. So the older you are, the more important this is that you listen to reaching muscular fatigue so that you can change your life, not just change your body composition right now, but later. So if I'm having protein and very low carbohydrate, but higher in fat, this is appropriate for either strength training where I'm not going to jostle my belly and my gut. I might be giving it 30 to 45 minutes before I actually get started because it's liquid. It is going to clear my gut, even though it's just a little bit of fat. That was a spoonful of nut butter, more for flavor and more for keeping me full so I'm not distracted than anything else. So this is appropriate for me if I'm going out for, say I'm going to go out for a hike and I'm going to walk for an hour listening to a podcast or to music, whatever it might be. But if I were going out for doing interval training, or we're going to walk for 10 minutes and then alternate sprints and recovery periods, this is not my drink of choice. For that, your body actually starts to burn carbohydrates. The higher intensity you go, the more you want to swing toward a carbohydrate-laden snack or something before. So what's appropriate? The closer you are to the exercise, if I'm going to go in 30 minutes, the less I'm going to have, the easier to digest it needs to be. So a couple things that I would have done. I might have had a little protein smoothie, but what I would have put in here is a couple slices or maybe up to half of a frozen banana blended in there. So now I've got some carbohydrates, just a little bit of protein, and that's not going to stay in my gut. If it's a liquid meal, it's going to be absorbed a little bit easier, not stick there. But I would have left the fat out. Ordinarily, do you want high fiber in your diet? Yes. Do you before exercise? No, because you want it to empty your gut. So you've got to really think consciously about what you want, and you've got to think consciously about, I'm a woman in midlife. I'm a woman in menopause, more susceptible to negative effects of stress. I need to really be able to work hard without influencing cortisol so much that it continues to go up after the exercise. So optimally, during exercise, cortisol will rise naturally, and if it's already high in the morning, which is when I recommend you do a high intensity exercise, you're working with your cortisol. So it's already up, you're gonna elevate it a little bit more, but here's what happens when you exercise at the right time of day with the right intensity. You then get a later day release or reduction in your cortisol levels, which is exactly what you want, so that at the end of the day, you're ready to relax and rewind and release kind of the stress and tension from the day so that you can get to sleep. So that as you go to bed, your muscles rebuild, so that you're ready for the next workout, but you've also overcome the imposition and overload that you caused, the stimulus in the workout today. Those things are really important, because if cortisol remains too high when you go to sleep, like you might be exercising late in the day too intensely, your body can't repair those muscles and you're causing breakdown to occur more and more and more, okay? So let's come back to breakfast. Higher intensity. You're gonna do a little bit more carbohydrate before you get that exercise in. So easy to digest, half a banana. You might put a little smear of nut butter on it, but not much. And I much prefer, if you have a sensitive stomach, that you go with a little bit of protein with your carbohydrate instead of fat, because fat stays in your gut longer. It's harder to clear. So some of us have more sensitive stomachs than other. I couldn't have a slice of pizza while I was running. I couldn't have a slice of pizza at the end of a race, let alone while I was doing it. My stomach just says, nah, I don't think so. So you've got to know your gut, your stomach, but in general, the higher your intensity, the more you want to have a little carbohydrate before you exercise. The lower intensity and the longer you're going to go for a long walk or a long hike, you can have more protein and carbohydrate and less, or more protein, sorry, and fat and less carbohydrate. And you'll be helping your body burn more fat for fuel because it doesn't have to work so hard. You're not jogging, not jostling the gut up and down. So to bring it really down, yoga. So yoga is also very low impact, and often if you're practicing yoga, you've read many places, your gut should be empty, and that's true. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have something to eat maybe half an hour beforehand, but a few nuts and seeds, or what I'm having right now. So a little protein drink with a little bit fat mixed in it. So if your blood sugar is stable, now remember you fasted overnight, 12 hours, so your blood sugar is at potentially an all-time low, right? So you want a little something in it before you begin your exercise. You will put out much more effort and therefore expend more energy while you're doing it. So there you have it. What do I do before? What do I eat before my morning exercise? And how will that affect my ability to expend more energy, therefore gain more lean muscle, burn more fat, overall boost your metabolism much better, and you will feel better and enjoy your exercise far more if you do it this way as well. So there you have it. There is such a thing called kind of being on a low energy spot. And that means potentially you're cutting back on your calories, or you are intermittent fasting and you're trying to be in a fasted state when you exercise. The chances that your exercise will feel harder to you, but you'll actually be expending less and less energy, and your body will continue to cut back in doing that. So be thinking, be thoughtful, be sure who you're listening to when you're listening to what do I eat, or if I eat it all before exercise, is actually looking at the research on women in perimenopause and postmenopause, because that's important. You're not a mouse, you are not a mini man, and you are not a young woman. So any research on any of those subjects will not apply specifically to you. So important to know, okay? If this was really information that you find incredibly helpful, and it may be planting a seed that, what I've been listening to is not, in conjunction with me and the point of life that I'm at right now, I encourage you to subscribe, first of all, to my YouTube channel. That's /flipping50TV, flipping 50. And if you're watching this early in September of 2020, on Wednesday the 9th, I'm doing a special webinar all about Women's Ultimate Guide, a woman in menopause or after 50, ultimate guide to avoiding muscle loss after 50. Talking even more about the kind of exercise and strength training, resistance training that you want to be doing. Talking about what is too much. If you're counting your steps, you want to tune into this, because you can do too many and actually be causing harm and not good. And you want to know also then, how do you eat, and what is this thing called muscle protein synthesis? Why are you not as good at it as you were 10 and 20 years ago, and how can you get better at it so that you can age optimally? So I invite you to come. That's free. It's a Flipping 50, kind of a research-based, science and evidence-proven presentation. So I'm a science girl. We put that into action when we're in the next room, which is my weight room. And I'm sure you have a similar setup at your house. So I'd love to see you there. I will put links down below to both Flipping 50 in general, but I'd love for you to join me and to share this if this information is interesting, or if you're hearing other things from fitness professionals. I'm perfectly okay with having a conversation and having someone challenge me based on the research. I think we need to discuss this. It's just being open-minded, taking in the research that we have now at our fingertips for women in menopause, and using that as we discuss, you and I, in perimenopause or postmenopause, and what's best for us now, because you and I are going to change history. All right, I'll see you on the flip side, and cheers.